What's up, everybody? Matt Crane, and man, I tell you, episode 2, week number 2, Power of Great Book Review. Really excited about this one. We got my man Grant Cardone's book, The 10X Rule, on deck for tonight. And I got to be honest with you guys, this is an awesome book. If you're on my business or my public profile page, you'll see a nice video. I'll post it on here a little bit later. But it was a little bit over 2 years ago that, I was really struggling in a lot of ways. Business, profession, home, finances, so many different things were really just, I was riding a struggle bus on, right? And I was introduced to Grant Cardone. And, at the time he was pushing and he was promoting millionsonthephone.com, which was a hot webinar. Anything he does pretty much blows up. But he was promoting millionsonthephone.com, and it was a webinar, $49 webinar. And for whatever reason, I decided to jump on. I decided to take a look at this webinar. And I'll be honest with you guys, I think that there's a lot of things that we can see in the marketplace. My man Sean Thomas, hey guys, this is a huge treat for me. Sean Thomas is on the stream, guys. It's not about him, and he doesn't want it to be about him. But I will tell you, that guy is a power player. And you want to talk about another gentleman that will get his due on one of these shows? It'll be him. His book, Naivete, is coming up. I've got it. I'll be reviewing his book soon as well. So, Sean Thomas, thank you, my man. But look, a little bit over 2 years ago, right? I was dead broke. Struggling in my relationships, struggling in the way that I was being seen in the community. I was putting on this great front, man, but I was just riding the struggle bus in life. And you know what? I got on millionsonthephone.com. It was a $49 webinar. I sucked it up. And for me at the time, $49 was like making $1 million decision. And I get on the webinar, and literally, guys, I started putting the information to work. I didn't just get on there to just say that I was getting on there to change my life. I got on there because there was something about that message that drew me there that said, you know what, Matt, this is for you. And it stuck. It resonated. And from that point, it led me to this book, The 10X Rule. Now, look, we all have things that motivate us, that inspire us, and we all have those moments, right? Well, this book in 2015 was the most influential thing that I had gotten in front of in quite some time. And what I wanted to talk about tonight was very simple. Was chapter 18 is the most important chapter, in my opinion, in the book. And it's called Criticism is a Sign of Success. You see, anyone that has ambition, anyone that has a skill set, anyone that has a high level of thinking and the way of doing, you're sometimes motivated by the wrong things, right? Criticism should never motivate you. Like, when I hear people say, man, my haters drive me, that should never be the case. Your haters should be what motivates you to continue to do what? To continue to walk that path. It shouldn't motivate you to start a path. It should motivate you to continue down the path you're going. And when I was reading through this book, guys, when chapter 18 got to me about criticism as a sign of success, I realized very, very quickly that it was criticism that was holding me back. You see, I was focusing too much on what others thought, how others felt. Did they like me? Did they love me? Did they appreciate me? Did they think I was doing a great job? Did they think that I had what it took? All these different things, when in reality, what I was really missing was the opportunity to show them that it didn't matter. That success was going to be measured on what I was going to accomplish and the things that I was going to do and the activity that I was going to need to what? That I was going to need to 10x to get there. So in the book, Grant says this. Criticism is defined, now this is a definition obviously, but I want to give Grant his due because it's in his book. It's a New York Times bestseller. Criticism is defined as the judgment of the merits and faults of the work or actions of one individual by another. So remember this. Criticism is a direct response from someone else to someone else in regards to their actions, their merits, or their faults. It's a judgment call, right? So you're passing judgment on merits, faults, or actions. And I think that for so many of us, we even judge ourselves by our faults, our merits, or our actions. So we are our own worst critics. And when I hear people say, man, I'm my own worst critic, well, that is a huge, huge problem. You see, if you're constantly critiquing yourself instead of learning, if you're constantly critiquing yourself instead of growing, then what's happening is you're doing this. You're getting stuck in a whirlpool. So even in a whirlpool, you have a height, right? And then you have that sinking moment. And once you get to the bottom, you're done. But the whole process is a revolving circle. And to me, that's what criticism really is. It's a whirlpool. And no matter where you start, you're going to hit a siphon. And you're going to continue to get in that. Unless you're willing to work, scrap, and just scrape to get out of that funnel system. Because let's be honest, the world's a funnel system of criticism. The news media is a funnel system of criticism. Everything that we're done, everything that we're predetermined to, everything that we're shown in life is criticized. And in the 10X rule, Grant says something that just handled the business for me. He said, the only way to handle criticism is to foresee it as an element of your success formula. Let me repeat that. The only way to handle criticism is to foresee it as an element of your success formula. Guys, I'm reading off the notes, so I just want to be transparent about that. And I love that. Because understand that he also says in the book, criticism precedes admiration. So for everyone out there who's seeking approval, who's seeking someone else to pat them on the back and tell them they're doing a great job, right? And tell them who's constantly going to help them, you're doing so wonderful. You're going to achieve great things. If you are truly going to achieve great things, if you're truly achieving great things, you're going to have people critique you. I said this on a Periscope last night. I did. It was last night. I reached out to a power player, someone that I'm in his wheelhouse. He knows who I am. This guy is $1 million a month guy. And I asked him to be on my podcast. I won't call him out because that's neither here nor there, but I asked him to be on my podcast. And the first thing he said to me was, man, I'm just focused. He gave me that song and dance routine. I'm just focused right now. Get back to me when you have 200,000 a month downloads. Now, I could have took that as a criticism, but I didn't. I simply popped back and said, I look forward to speaking with you soon. Because understand, criticism precedes admiration. And the only thing he could respond back to me with was what? Was a smiley face. You know why? Because he knew he was in the trenches with a real pro. Because what he told me throughout that whole little interaction was that he'd already gone and listened to my podcast. He'd already started looking at the numbers. And at the end of the day, it's not a matter, right? I tell you, you'll hear me say this. Success isn't measured by what you step out of, but yet by what you step into. So what I took that as was like this, was an opportunity for me to understand that while we believe it or not, whether we don't believe it or not, influencers and people of major success are paying attention to you. They have to get on social media. They have to get on these streams in order to stay engaged with their audience, or else they're going to lose. And so where the 10X rule really comes into play for me in chapter 18 is everything is talking about 10X in your activity, 10X in the way you're doing things, 10X in the way that you're trying to get better, the way you're trying to increase what? Your level of expertise, the way you're trying to level up your game. And through this process, right? Criticism will do this. Criticism is basically people who habitually disparage others like this, okay, usually do not have solutions to their situation except to degrade other players. Right? People who habitually disparage others like this usually don't have solutions to their situation except to degrade other players. Now, I see Amisha Jones. Amisha, if you're confused by that quote, it's very simple. You could pull up in the driveway in a Ferrari and it doesn't mean you're successful, because you could go home to a broken home. You could go home to a relationship status that doesn't want you. You could go home to an empty home. You could also go home to a bank account that's not making you any money because you spent it all on a Ferrari. What does make you successful is when you step into greatness, when you step into a network of people that are going to challenge you and help you. Okay, good. And when you see, right, people who habitually disparage others like this, here's what happens, right? It's that they are what? They're really looking for somebody to get lost with them. You see, people who are negative all the time, people who don't want to be successful, people who only build their success around how much junk they can talk about other people and criticize other people, they don't want to drown alone. But I ask you this question. If me and you are in the middle of the ocean and there's no rescue boat in sight and we both have life vests on, are we still in the middle of the ocean with no rescue boat? But what makes it more comforting? Because you got help, because you have somebody with you. There's comfort in knowing the end is coming and somebody else is with you. That's exactly how negative people think. That's exactly how criticizing people believe. And that's why people who critique other people, they have to find other people to critique it to, because they can't critique you to themselves. It doesn't do them any good. It doesn't justify things for them. So throughout this book, the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, what it really showed me was that there's all these rules, there's all these tips, there's all these tricks, there's all these things that you can do in life that can help you become successful or help you get out of the situation that you want to get out of. But understand that criticism is going to be a predecessor to admiration. And for me, I had to understand very early that I want to be successful. There's not one human being that doesn't interact with me that doesn't know that doesn't know that I have big dreams, big goals, big aspirations, but I also have big ways of doing things. One thing that I've had to learn, and I've had to really be humble through the process, is that, hey, I've always been a guy that it's either all in or all out. I'm either all in or all out. And I was so consumed with what people thought, how they felt. Did they like me? Was I making a decision that was popular? Hey, we've all been there. But then I truly started to understand that what was being impacted the most was the way that I was being received at home, was the way that I was being received at the bank, was the way that I was being received by people who I had let down because they saw me start changing who I was. Instead of understanding that criticism is really what others are starting to see, and it's going to predetermine whether they start to admire you or not. You see, most people who criticize you are waiting for you to shut down, stop, or quit so you can prove them right. When you hear the old saying, man, don't prove people right, prove them wrong. Well, criticism is one of those times. And in the 10X Rule, right, by Mr. Grant Cardone, when he says the only way to handle criticism is to foresee it as an element of your success formula, right? The only way to handle criticism is to foresee it as an element of your success formula. So part of your success formula is admitting your faults, self-evaluation, having some of that, instead of self-criticism, it's self-evaluation, admitting your faults, not being scared to admit your merits, and own your actions, right? Because whether you believe it or not, people who are going to criticize you, they already know what you do well, they already know where you fail, and they already know what you're doing from an activity standpoint. And quite frankly, if you truly want to live a life that is stress-free, if you really want to unload and unpack all the junk in your life, don't worry about what other people are going to critique you for. Worry about whether they're critiquing you or not. Trust me when I tell you, there's not one person that hasn't seen me before that knows that, man, when I come around, it's all in. Some people are going to roll their eyes. Some people are going to be excited. And some people are going to think, holy crap, here comes that Matt Crane guy. We might be stuck for 30 minutes. But if I'm so consumed with that all the time, am I truly living out what I want to live out? Are you being stuck? Are you getting stuck in that siphon because you're allowing other people's body language, their emotion, or their criticisms of you, right? Are you allowing that to dictate your life? Are you allowing it to shut down your opinion, shut down the way you feel about things? Are you changing the way you feel about things to fit other people? Because you're going to accept their criticism as fact and allow it to stop your progress. I could give two rips about who criticizes me or not. And that's why most people that will criticize me won't do it normally to your face. That's called constructive criticism. It's called coaching. It's called mentoring. It's called appreciation. See, I firmly believe that when somebody's willing to pull you aside and say, hey, Matt, hey, you might want to tone down the 37 periscopes. Some people might take that personal. But in my opinion, that's somebody reaching out to me saying, hey, I appreciate the effort. I really appreciate all the activity, but we get it. Right? So what I really wanted to accomplish tonight with this overview of the 10X rule, and I'm going to put a link down in the bottom of this chat section for you guys that want to go and get a copy of your book. My man William Dubberly is exactly right. He will put you to work, or he'll put you in a play and don't tell you that you're going to have a main singing part, and then when you start singing, you realize how bad you really are, and that critique will light you up, big guy. So anyway, good to see you, man. Yeah, Robert C. Stern, right? Tone down 37 to maybe 30, exactly. But in the comments section, I'm going to put a link for anyone that wants to go and order a copy of this book. It is a New York Times bestseller. The concept of the entire book is that if you truly want to elevate your game, if you want to elevate your income, if you want to elevate the opportunities of being successful, if you want to elevate anything in life, you're going to have to 10 times the activity. You're going to have to 10 times the things you're doing now in order to get to that point. And for me, okay, like I said before, 2 years ago, I was in a place of really disparity, right? I was walking around with this facade of everything was perfect, everything was normal, and yet everything wasn't. And, you know, by taking a chance and getting in front of some information and finally just saying, you know what, Matt, you need to quit being so concerned with what the criticism of other people are. Quit formulating your opinion and quit formulating the way you behave based on what other people think of you or see about you. Just be who you are. And at the end of the day, whether they love you, like you, or nothing, they're still going to know you and pay attention to you because you're doing the things that you were meant to be done in the first place. So for me, it was really understanding that criticism had to become part of my success formula. That once I started to get critiqued and once I really started to get laid out for bear was when I was really starting to walk into the admiration of other people. Was when I was really starting to get steered away from a circle of negativity and start really evaluating, lifting up, and nurturing my circle of influence to the point where I'm sitting here right now. I coach people internationally all over the world in business. I'm an international speaker. I'll be going to London in 2017. I'll be in Las Vegas August the 18th through the 20th. I'll be keynoting a live event in Las Vegas. And this comes from the heels of understanding that part of the criticism that was going to happen was part of the journey that I had to be on. Right? So when you let others who habitually disparage you understand that those people normally don't have solutions to their problems except to only talk about yours. And there's no greater testimonial about your success than when you're piling on the haters. I call those ducats, right? Right? I call those ducats because what you're really doing is you're walking a path that other people are ducking. But when they see you do it and they see how you continue to push through it and they see how you continue to fight through that criticism, they eventually start moving their criticism to admiration because now you are actually doing something that they've always wanted to do, and you become a thought leader, you become a leader of change, and you truly understand the value of the 10X rule. So don't let other people's criticisms throw you off track. What's up, Tashawn? Good to see you. Let other people's criticisms be a measuring stick of just how successful you truly want to become. So I want to thank my man Grant Cardone not only for writing this book, for being a huge influence on me in 2015, for continuing to be a huge influence on me. And more importantly, if any of you are looking for a book that's going to help change the way you might think about things, it's going to change the way you might think about your current activity level, I'm going to put a link in the comment section for any of you that want to go and purchase your copy of the book. It'll take you right to it. And, and I really appreciate each and every one of you guys and gals being here on the Power of Great Book Review, where tonight we talked about the 10 X rule. So, chapter 18 was the highlight again. Criticism is a sign of success. And the most successful people will tell you, okay, let me actually go back and say this. Michael Jordan did not even make his high school basketball team to begin with. You want to talk about criticism? I love it, Will Sands. I love it, buddy. You're exactly right. Michael Jordan didn't even make his high school basketball team. He was also told when he got drafted into the NBA that if he wanted to be good, that if he really wanted to be a good basketball player, a great NBA player, he had to learn to have a jump shot. And this is a guy that hit the game-winning shot in the NCAA tournament, who's now arguably one of the greatest of all time. But he was told he had to get a jump shot. Now, do you think that guy took that criticism, took his ball, curled up in a corner, and went home? Nah. He only put up 6 fingers at the end of his career. Guys, y'all have a great night. Who's going to throw up 6 for me today? I'll talk to you guys later.